Hi everybody, this is a presentation about the history of media from three perspectives by me, Dakota Pint. It is for my Communications 210 class, and as this is just the draft, I have not included the voiceovers of my people I interviewed, so I will be redoing this voiceover, but just wanted to try it out first. So, as our professor Ben said, over the last 200 years, communication technologies have evolved dramatically. From innovations such as the radio, television, smartphones, film, movies, computers, and the internet, our world is constantly changing. From my perspective of 20 years, although this is only 10% of 200 years, I still have definitely encountered changes as well within my technology experiences. As a few examples, when I was 10 years old, I received my first phone, a simple flip keyboard phone that I could only use to call my parents. When I was 13 years old, I received my first smartphone, an iPhone 4. The tradition of getting a new phone every 2 years continued while the invention of high-tech, speedy, beautiful-looking phones did as well. I now have an iPhone Plus and lots more technology platforms. I constantly am working around with my iPhone, MacBook Pro, laptop, AirPods, iPad, and Apple Watch ready and handy. So for this presentation, we had to interview people. I chose to interview both my grandparents, as I am visiting them right now. Just a little about them. My grandma, Mavis Fisher, is 79 years old. She's originally from Nottingham, England. And my grandpa, Lee Fisher, is also 79 years old, and he is a retired physician. So, the topics that I'm going to go over are sound records, radios, televisions, and movie films. Like I said, their voice recordings are not included in this slideshow yet, so I will go back and redo this, but this is just a little information of what we talked about. Here are the questions I asked them about sound records. Their voiceovers will be on at this point, but they said stuff like, in the early ages of sound records, my grandpa listened to classical jazz and blues. Granddad had an RCA record player. My grandma says that there was no parental limitations in her home because they all watched and together. They really liked Bill, Harry, Lee, and Rock Around the Clock. In the 50s, a record would cost less than $1. Most of the records my grandpa listened to were the same as parents, so they all listened to classical and jazz music. And then my grandma likes jazz music over popular culture music and still does to this day. Here are the different experiences between my grandparents' Iowa sound records. In my experience, sound records are fashions or fads, more decoration-like. I even have a record player in my room. It's maybe played one record, but it's more of a decoration. Grammy and Granddad's experience, sound record players were the start of their technology experience. It was something they shared with their friends and family, and it was definitely a big, big hit. Next, on to radios. I asked these questions of them, and they had answers like, Grammy's favorite radio station was Listen with Mother, and she has a great story she's going to include. According to Granddad, radio was great because you had to use your imagination. When Granddad was younger, he loved watching Buster Brown and with his friends after Saturday morning breakfast all together. And for Grammy, her favorite was The Arches. There was not a lot of technical problems, not much wired in there. Here I included some of their favorite radio programs, so Listen to Mother, Buster Brown, The Arches, Enter Sham, Jack Benny's Show, General Electric Theater. Next we have television. I asked these questions, and their answers were like, Granddad didn't have TV till 1953, 54, but his grandparents did in the 40s, and it was definitely black and white. TV wasn't the biggest thing they did, it was just a small portion of their day, and when they all watched together. Grammy and her family actually used to rent a TV due to how much it broke. Granddad and Grammy then tell a fun story about renting TVs and tube TVs. Commercials were only 30 seconds, specifically about soaps, cars, life insurance, houses, tires, gasoline, beer, cigarettes. Lastly, in Granddad's household, there was a lot of interaction with TV, not very much of a couch potato solo act of watching TV. So then I go on, how is TV watched now versus back then? Like Granddad explains, it is very much of an engagement and participant through watching TV as a family. As of now, we're called couch potatoes or zombie watchers, stuff like that. Lastly is our movie films. These are the questions, and then their answers were such as like, Grammy experienced watching movies in a barn, but they had to take 15-minute breaks in the middle of the movie to change the film. Granddad's grandfather was a projectionist, so as a child he helped with film and reel. They got newsreels through going to the movies during the war. Grammy's parents would pay 6 pence, which is very, very cheap, just to watch the news. They both love musicals. Grammy's favorite is Carousel. Granddad's favorite is Battleground. But Granddad said his parents told him he couldn't see most scary and like behavior films, whereas Grammy parents were all for it. She could watch anything she wanted. So included everybody's favorite film, Grammy's is Carousel. Granddad's is Battleground, and I included mine. Mine is Sleepless in Seattle. For one last question I asked them, it was, what is something out of all this technology, sound records, radios, televisions, and movie films, media, something you still wish we had today? Grammy was an on and off button, which she'll explain in the voiceover, and Granddad's was integrity. One last cute story that they wanted to share, I actually got this picture from Granddad's computer, is how they all had to say the anthem after they watched TV or went to the movies. Obviously, in America, that was our Pledge of Allegiance, but for my grandma in England, it was God Save the Queen. In conclusion, this was such a fun project to learn more about not only my grandparents, but the history of technology and how much it has influenced me. So I hope that you have enjoyed.